everyone, and welcome back to the George Collection. I'm Rachel Rightside Blonde. In light of the recent chorus scandal, which is essentially a program paying Democratic influencers up to $8,000 a month to parrot Democrat talking points, I wanted to take a look at the concept of lobbyists and paying for politicians, and the concept of transparency. In January 1999, George Magazine had an article called DC's Got Game, and it's written by John D. Solomon, and I wanted to read this to you. Forget the backroom deals and the political arm twisting. Here's the dirty little secret of why professional athletes always get what they want in Washington. Like every other Washington lobbyist, Alan C. Soba spends his days pitching clients' interests, but he's the only one with his very own Major League pitcher's mound in his office. He also has a home plate embedded in the carpet, 3 rows of bleachers, and a replica of Baltimore Oriole Cal Ripken's locker that serves as a coat rack. Soba is baseball's top lobbyist. He and his counterparts who represent the professional football, basketball, and hockey leagues have a simple game plan: choice seats for legislators to the best athletic events, the promise of new franchises for sports-starved cities, and hefty campaign contributions. The result is that the sports business, with annual revenues of nearly $10 billion, has managed to maintain a most favored industry status in the Capitol. Indeed, despite a litany of complaints from the fans about the baseball and basketball strikes, owners capriciously moving teams from one city to another, and skyrocketing ticket prices, pro sports have managed to remain a nearly unregulated monopoly. Although Major League Baseball is the only sport with its own DC office, the other major sports have long fielded their own lobbying teams. That squad is backed by individual contributions from the owners and their family members. The sports lobbyists are quick to point out that their efforts to curry favor with members of Congress are made almost absurdly easy by the players' dazzling displays on the field. Lobbying for professional athletics, Soba and others say, is a chance to play the game with a bunch of rabid sports fans who just happen to be lawmakers. Despite new gift rules in Congress, House members cannot accept free tickets and senators have to pay for tickets costing $50 or more, the leagues shower lawmakers with great seats. This month, the NFL will offer Super Bowl seats to more than 50 members of Congress. For its part, Major League Baseball provided list-price tickets for the sold-out World Series at Yankee Stadium to more than 200 legislators, staffers, and their families. New efforts to regulate sports have emerged from congressional antitrust hearings in 1995 and 96, which were inspired by fan outrage over the 1994 baseball strike and the sudden relocation of the Cleveland Browns to Baltimore in 1996. One bill would allow full public ownership of franchises. Another, sponsored by New York Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan and Massachusetts Representative Barney Frank, is intended to make it more difficult for teams to leave their current locations by prohibiting states and localities from issuing tax-exempt bonds for new sports arenas. Neither bill has gained much support since so many critics want major league franchises. Ultimately, the success of the pro-sports lobby may lie in its unique hold on Americans and their elected representatives. Predictably, it is less likely for a senator or a representative to support legislation that is opposed by his or her favorite team, especially if a star player has signed a baseball on a lobbying visit. I know it sounds crazy, one Senate aide admits, but an autograph from Yankee pitcher David Cone can have a lot of impact. This is just one minor example of the impact that lobbying can have on legislators. And I'll never forget that Robin Williams quote that basically said legislators should have to wear a jacket with all the sponsors who sponsored them plastered on it. Transparency must win in the future. We have to know who's paying our lobbyists, and in the same breath, we have to know who's giving our social media influencers money as well. If someone has over 200,000 followers or more, or millions of followers, I think it's only fair that we should know if the Democrat Party is paying that influencer to say something. Most of the time, it's pretty easy to see who's sponsoring someone because they're selling a product, but oftentimes it's not. And in the case of this chorus program, the influencers were forbidden from talking about even getting paid at all, and that makes it extremely dangerous. But I want to know what you think. I think it's obvious we need to know where our politicians are getting their money from, but what about social media influencers? Should we know where they get their money, and should chorus programs be banned in the future? Let me know in the comments. That does it for this episode of the George Collection. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great week, and I'll see you next time.
Of this extraordinary magazine, George, which is a hoot of a magazine. I thought you were a lawyer.
I was.
What happened?
Well, we decided, I mean, actually taking a cue from folks like yourself and you around the 1992 election, that there was an opportunity here to change the definition of a political magazine. Certainly the way Americans were accessing information about politics and politicians was changing. Candidates were appearing on late night talk shows, on talk radio, on sitcoms, and there was a kind of a leveling process, and while the rest of media clearly had caught up with that, we felt that political magazines per se hadn't.
Your mother was a hell of an editor at Doubleday.
That's what I hear.
Would she have liked George?
I think she would have.